So here I have Tom Chandler and Sam Crick from TC Coaching Crickcast Pods. We're going to pick their brains and basically get some information about them. So please, Tom, could you introduce yourself and your brand, please?
Hi guys, hi everyone. My name is Tom Chandler. I'm a decathlete from Scotland. Compete for Scotland in the decathlon still, and I'm still training alongside running my coaching business. I started TC Coaching 2 years ago, just before lockdown, as a self-employed personal trainer. So I coach people from 16 up to 70 on their fitness journey. And my big USP, my big kind of selling point is that I treat them and program them as if they were athletes. So we look at their sleep, their stress levels, their nutrition levels. Obviously, they're not going to be running hard lactic sessions like me, but they will be addressing and looking at their training in the same way that I will, in and outside of the gym.
Brilliant. Thank you, Tom. And Sam, could you please introduce yourself from Crickcast Pod?
Hello, Lewis. Thank you very much. Yeah, my name is Sam Crick, a middle distance athlete from Tunbridge Athletic Club, and also the founder and host of Crickcast. We are a platform and a podcast that gives opportunities to new athletes, gives them a platform for their success, and indeed is for the athletes, for the fans, and for the future. Around 2 years ago, I started doing podcasts from my bedroom, talking to people on Zoom whilst in lockdown, and it started to grow and grow to what is the brand around the country, which is quite well known for post-race interviews and fun and interesting questions. But I really think that there's an opportunity to have a great impact on our sport, and I think that that's through finding the personal side of athletes and giving them the platform they deserve. So very excited to be having this conversation. Always interested to get around a virtual table with you guys and talk about some great ideas.
Okay, brilliant. Right, so that was a general introduction of TC Coaching Crickcast Pod. I think we're all fairly similar age in terms of businesses, aren't we? All pre-lockdown, all had the ideas to just jump in and make our sport a better place. So, Tom, I'm going to start with you. Obviously, we've been competing against each other on and off for the last 12 years. And obviously, you're very driven, a fantastic athlete. Why is this Pro League a good idea for TC Coaching? Why were you involved?
Yeah, sure. So the whole idea and the whole concept when you first pitched it to me was kind of music to my ears. I was really keen to find a platform or find an event that would make high performing athletes and top level athletes a little bit more accessible to younger age groups and younger athletes. I feel there's a real disconnect at the moment in British athletics with the top end athletes. And like Sam mentioned with his podcast, it is showing that we're all human and we all wake up and go to bed at night, and we all have very similar problems. And sharing that and humanizing these top level athletes, I think, is really important and something that's not being done at the moment.
Thank you. And obviously, Sam, I've known you for too many years. And obviously, you're very much an athletics enthusiast and performer yourself. And it's great that you're getting the inside information, the athletes. And I know I asked you to join in on this because you have the same views as myself and Tom, make it more accessible. But why is this a good thing for Crickcast to get involved with?
Yeah, so, off the top, I think that the Pro League and the concept, as we'll talk about, is a great idea. And I think that it's going to give young athletes an insight into what high-level athletes are all about. And if I think back to how I first got into the sport, and indeed what has inspired me over the years, it's those memorable moments that have been created with the highest caliber of athletes in the country. One of my first ever experiences down at Tunbridge Athletics track was with Kelly Holmes doing a jog around the track with over 200 people. And athletics was something that I didn't know too much about, but at the age of 10, that was something that literally changed my life. So I think giving a new opportunity to young athletes and giving them, the opportunity literally to be supporting a group of athletes that are the best in the country. I think that that's a great place to start and indeed just boost grassroots athletics.
we've had quite a few opportunities at Tunbridge. So myself and Sam, both from Tunbridge Athletics Club, we've had a few opportunities to meet some high-level athletes for small coaching sessions, such as Sally Pearson, Olympic champion for hurdles, Colin Jackson, former world record holder, Kelly Holmes comes down, she lives local. But the reason for the Pro League, obviously Tom will pitch in on this later with his experiences at his club, but you don't often get to bridge that gap between elite performer and young aspiring athletes. So obviously at Tunbridge, we've got great depth in the juniors. We never got to see our top senior athletes compete, especially myself being on the track and field side. It might be slightly different for you, Sam, watching the slightly better distance runners go through the senior ranks. But I thought it'd be a nice way to get everyone involved together and obviously like just chat along. We'll all do things differently. Just to get a bit of a flavour of what it takes to be an elite athlete and that they are completely human. So Tom, what's your experience you were at Central AC growing up? Was there experience between junior and senior athletes working together?
Yeah, so obviously you can tell from my accent, I'm not from down south. So I grew up up in Stirlingshire at Central AC. So we had a couple of really high-profile athletes, including Andrew Butcher, who was finalist at London 2012. And I was quite lucky that I was relatively close to him and got some exposure from him quite early on. But other than those top level athletes shouting track at you to get you to move out the way, there was a big gap for sure. And look, athletics is an elitist sport, and you've worked super hard to get to the top. And as a kid first coming into the sport, you don't quite appreciate that just yet. And it's great to get a little bit. It'll be great to get more exposure earlier on in your athletic career to kind of see and understand what is required, where have they worked, what have they done, and the trials and tribulations that all of these top level athletes go through to get to the top.
Very good. And Sam, if you want to pitch in, obviously we've spoken a bit about Tunbridge AC already, but what do you feel would be a benefit from bridging the gap between elite and grassroots athletics?
Yeah, so I think it gives those young children the opportunity for these memorable moments, and actually I feel like it's giving them not only that engagement but also that they're so close to the action. This is an opportunity where they will literally be competing themselves and then watching others compete on the same playing field. And actually with some of the events that we're running, it gives that I guess it has it varies in terms of the events that we're doing. So it's really looking at how perhaps a young person can do their best in the long jump and then see someone perhaps jump almost twice the distance, and really put that into perspective and then try and engage with the coach, for example, if it's Tom, or indeed some of the other athletes that are competing, and ask them really good questions and just spark their imagination of what could happen in the years to come. And I think that's what you've done particularly well, Lewis, in West Kent Athletic Club, is just give students an understanding of how you might train, and indeed just give them a bit of food for thought to really push on their own athletics careers.
Another big reason for this is obviously most of the time the coaches are sitting there barking orders. A lot of time coaches are parents that have turned into coaches and put loads of work in to do that. But we're going to showcase basically how we do it, how you're supposed to do it. So I'm gonna be competing, hopefully for Crickcast Pod or TC coaching. But I'll be running down the runway. I might ask one of the kids to get my foot. That's quite an interesting experience for them, giving them something to work on. Parents can come over and chat. Athletes can watch from really close, have a nice little chatting feel. Because even at open meetings, when I've seen some high-level athletes competing, which is very rare that you get to see high-level athletes at open meetings, it's almost quite standoffish. The track environment is quite daunting for some athletes. You get a lot of officials telling you where you can stand, where you can't stand. We're doing this in a field, It's going to have a real sports day kind of feel to it. So hopefully everyone's going to be pretty at ease and we can just get the ball rolling. Tom loves a bit of hype. So hopefully we'll get a bit of tunes on, get some excitement going, a few claps, and we go from there. But
I think on that point as well, Lewis, you know, it actually covers what I would see as the four main areas for athletics, really. Not only do you have the coaches, not only do you have the athletes, but you also have the parents and the officials themselves. And because we'll be running the event, it brings everyone together. And I think that is possibly what's lacking in our sport in general. And we see it in football a lot. You know, the crowd engagement is very high. You know, they're close to the athletes, but I think for us in athletics, it can be quite divided. So I think giving people an opportunity to be involved in the action and basically give them access to learning new things about athletes and seeing them perform as well is going to be huge.
Yeah, I think the fact that it is happening in a field and it has that sports day atmosphere just kind of reaffirms what the Pro League is all about, and it is really about that raw element of competition. Now, you started to touch on it earlier, Lewis, when you spoke about how one of the junior athletes may do a jump and then they'll see someone jump potentially double the distance. And this is certainly something that comes through in decathlon and in combined events. And Sam, you can tail on to this with regards to distance running. But the decathlon and the combined events scene is all about being the best that you can be on a given day in all 10 events. And I really think that gets lost sometimes in athletics, and because obviously you get caught up in the big event, the big occasion. But ultimately, I want to see my competitors do well because I want to be up against the best versions of them. But ultimately, all I can control, and this is the same in all athletic disciplines, is I want to be the best version that I can be. And I really hope that from the Pro League, that's one of the biggest things that the kids take away from it, is that ultimately all of us there, the only thing that we share is that we're all trying to be the best versions that we can be.
That'll be a really good message for the kids as well, especially as for most of them, this will be their first ever feel of a competition. Obviously, it's a training day for them. They're getting out, I think, about 2 hours of training from us as the athlete coaches going around the events. But it's going to be a great opportunity for them to do their first competition. It'll be quite low key, a lot of fun. Again, you've got some really inspiring athletes looking after them. And on this point, I'm going to ask you first, Tom. What are you most excited about for the Pro League? There is obviously a multitude of things. We've got our bidding, we've got our athlete marketplace, we've got the competition itself, we've got the interaction with kids, parents, and obviously the exposure of your brands as well in the Pro League, which hopefully in years to come will become bigger and bigger. So give me your thoughts.
Yeah, so there's loads to look forward to. The athlete bidding process is going to be really exciting. Obviously, it'll be a relatively similar format to this call. No, I just can't wait for the competition. I really thrive under high energy scenarios. But it'll be really exciting to be, I think I've spoken to you about this before, but athletics is a pretty solitary sport at times. So to be part of a team environment, I'll always jump at the opportunity to be part of a wider community, and in this sense, I'll be able to actually lead a team out and hopefully destroy the competition.
Very nice.
So Sam, in retaliation, Tom's pretty sure he's going to destroy the competition. He actually spoke to me earlier before this call. To talk some rubbish about you, about how his team selection is going to be on point through his experience in the decathlon and multi-events. So how are you going to respond, and what are you looking forward to?
Well, I think it comes down to what we all know in athletics, which is, it's the performance on the day that matters. And actually, I'm going to be very much motivating my whole team. And indeed, working on the support of the young athletes. And going back to your question, Lewis, I think the thing that I'm most excited about, and especially through my background in education and working with young people to try and inspire them to have a bit more belief and build on their skills, is that sometimes you get into an event and it takes a bit of time for everyone to get on board and up to speed with what you're doing in terms of the excitement. And so I think seeing that, one child that is getting really engaged in what our performances are in this program, and I think getting that little spark or that piece of motivation that it's just a switch, and they get to the point where they're so engaged and they're loving the event and really pushing on to be the best that they can be. Tom mentioned something that's really important about the sort of individual aspect of athletics, but I think if you combine that with the support of a team, you also got the support of parents, and then the atmosphere and indeed the competition between the two groups, it's going to be set up to be something very, very special. But yeah, Tom might be confident now. We've still got a long way to go, and again, it's all down to who performs on the day.
Good. Just quickly as well, I know you're both going to be very competitive on the day, as am I. I don't know who I'm going to be competing for yet. I know some of the athletes have really asked me how it's going to work, who's going to be bidded on first. That will come apparent in our next video. But I just want to say thank you guys for getting on board with this. It should be a great event. And the kids should enjoy it, especially, I don't know, Tom, if you've ever done any athletics in front of the kids before, but if I'm doing a high jump demo or something and they all start screaming at me and clapping, I'm booming over the takeoff and smashing a high jump. So I'm hoping that kind of energy will come into this competition and raise our performances. And also, when the kids see one person do it, they all seem to get on with it, and it's like a carousel of winning, basically. So hopefully that'll be good. Right. So
yeah, Lewis, can't wait for it.
Brilliant. So we'll catch up next week for the Pro League bidding, and just get your brains in gear. I'll bring some stats and some sound bites from our athletes to help you decide, and I'll see you there. Thanks, guys.
Very excited. Thank you very much, Lewis, and best of luck, Tom, in the preparation. I hope that your athletes are ready to go, mate. But we'll find out in the bidding session next week.
We will indeed. Thanks for your time, guys.